Buenos días a todos. Estamos por dar inicio a la transmisión en vivo. Queremos darles la bienvenida a todos los fanáticos de Cazadores de Tesoros y esperamos que disfruten de este evento. Muchas gracias.
Boa tarde a todos. A transmissão ao vivo já vai começar. Desejamos as boas-vindas a todos os fãs de Caçadores de Relíquias e esperamos que aproveitem o evento. Muito obrigado.
Buenos días, good morning, bom dia. Agora vamos a dar bienvenida a Cazadores de Relíquias, Cazadores de Tesoros, o como le llaman aquí en Estados Unidos, American Pickers. Y para eso estamos hoy reunidos con Mike Wolfe, quien ya tiene más de 23 temporadas, que se dicen fáciles, pero no lo son, 23 temporadas de American Pickers o Cazadores de Tesoros, con más de 325 episodios en total. Y ahora, para recordar 325 episodios y 23 temporadas alrededor del mundo, vamos a compartir con History Latinoamérica y Brasil este video que resume la historia de Cazadores de Tesoros y History.
Encontraban algún tesoro para coleccionar, restaurar o revender, y así una y otra vez. Pero, ¿cómo este programa llegó a convertirse no solo en un éxito, sino en un clásico de History? Echemos una mirada al pasado para descubrirlo.
Aquí estamos, Frank y yo condujimos toda la noche por carreteras rurales. Cuando íbamos en la carretera, yo grababa a Frank y él a mí. Cuando aparecíamos los dos, es porque le pedíamos a quien le estábamos comprando que nos grabara. Y fue en ese momento que surgió la idea de un programa de televisión. Estuvimos 5 años intentando venderle el programa a History y cuando finalmente lo logramos les pregunté si lo llamarían Cazadores de Tesoros y me dijeron que no porque nadie sabía lo que eso significaba y yo les dije, expliquémoslo.
Los directivos de History aceptaron la propuesta de Mike, sugiriendo que el mejor lugar para esa explicación era la apertura del show.
Viajamos por las carreteras buscando...
Oro oxidado.
No recuerdo ahora.
La apertura surgió de forma natural.
Viajamos por las carreteras buscando reliquias oxidadas escondidas en graneros y garajes.
Perfecto.
Con la apertura terminada, llegaba la hora de salir a la ruta a grabar el show. Pero una cosa era grabarse a ellos mismos y otra muy diferente era protagonizar un verdadero programa de televisión.
Pasamos de grabarnos a nosotros mismos a tener un equipo de 14 personas. Nadie nos abría la puerta y cuando lo hacían, pensaban que habían ganado alguna especie de concurso por todas las personas que estaban con nosotros. Tengo todas estas notas de las personas y... de hecho, tengo bastantes aquí. Solía hacer todas las investigaciones, pero cuando el programa se vendió a History, me preocupó cómo iba a continuar haciéndolas si voy a estar frente a la cámara. Así que busqué a Daniel y le dije, quiero que trabajes con nosotros. Y ella respondió, por supuesto.
Hola, Brian. Sí, es Daniel de Antique Archaeology.
Cuando vino a grabar el primer día, recuerdo que había muchas personas.
Solo hazlo como lo harías naturalmente.
Bien. No sé.
Vamos a arreglar esto para que se te vea mejor la cara.
Y evolucionó muy bien frente a las cámaras porque tiene una personalidad increíble. Es muy dulce y es una persona que tenemos que grabar.
Sea una lámpara antigua, un muñeco gigante de publicidad o alguna colorida lata vieja, todos los objetos a los que estos cazadores echan el ojo esconden la historia de una época que revive en cada cacería.
Comisionado Gordon, aquí Frank Fritz. El único motivo por el que el programa se ha mantenido tanto tiempo es porque se trata de todos nosotros. Si fuese solo para coleccionistas, no hubiese durado tanto.
Well, we are extremely happy here today to be able to talk one-on-one with the one and only Mike Wolfe. Mike, before I introduce you, I just want to have a video that will remind us why you are such a unique character and such a great host for this top hit show in Latin America and the world.
Érase una vez un niño llamado Mike que iba todas las mañanas caminando al colegio porque su familia no tenía dinero para comprarle la bicicleta que él tanto deseaba, hasta que un día se encontró con una en la basura.
Era uno de los días de sacar la basura. Y estaba caminando y encontré una bicicleta de niña. Estaba impresionado porque alguien pudiese botar una bicicleta y pensé para mí mismo, si alguien puede botar una bicicleta, ¿qué más podían botar?
A pesar de querer tanto una bicicleta, Mike la vendió por $5 y a partir de ese momento nunca más se detuvo.
Por eso empecé a revisar siempre la basura para ver qué más podía conseguir. Desde ese día me la pasaba revolviendo la basura.
Hello, Mike. Hola, Mike.
Hello. So many good memories.
Well, why we don't start that way? How everything start with you, Mike, making cash from the trash.
Yeah, from a very young age, I was a treasure hunter. I think most kids are very curious, wanting to discover. And, I sold my first bicycle at the age of 5. And I was kind of hooked from there. I mean, I was already digging in the garbage for a year or so before that. And that was my world. I could escape into that.
And talking about that, I know the show start as a dream, as a pitch, and as a possibility. But how do you remember the very beginning of the show?
Oh man. Well, the very beginning of the show was interesting because most of the time, well, all the time now, when you pitch a show, you have a format. You have an understanding of like what the middle, the top, the big, everything will be like. And so we didn't really have an understanding of that. So it was really shot documentary style. I pitched the show for 5 years, and it was a very long journey. Everybody told me no. And then finally, Nancy Dubuque, the president of History, said, let's give these guys a shot. And so we've been very blessed ever since.
I mean, I know you're always looking for treasures all over United States, but we also know that you have been able to travel around the world and have done a couple of international episodes. How was that experience for you?
The Italian experience was pretty incredible. I picked Italy in 2001. I went to an antique motorcycle meet in Milan, and I kind of got a taste for it then. But I met French pickers, I met English pickers, I met Italian pickers, and that's kind of one of the reasons I came up with the name of the show, American Pickers, because when I was in Italy picking, I was like, I'm the American guy here, I'm the American picker, and so that's where the name came from for the show.
But you also made a couple of episodes of American Pickers in Europe that not everybody is aware of. Can you please share that experience with us?
Yeah, we filmed in Italy for a few weeks. I think we did maybe 4 episodes over there. And then we actually went over to England. We were in London for a while, and we did a couple episodes there. Italy was incredible. It was at a time when the Italian government had shut down all the tax incentives for people to film movies there. So there were a lot of prop masters and people that were in art direction that didn't have a job, and so they were selling us a lot of stuff out of warehouses that normally no one would be able to get into. We did go to a few places in very small villages that were just incredibly beautiful. There was a lot of religious statuary. I mean, obviously, I was looking for anything motorized. I remember we bought a 3-wheeled Moto Guzzi in Sicily, and that was pretty incredible. I've always been a bicycle guy, so when I'm looking at Campagnolo and Italian components and handmade frames over there, it was like a dream for me because as a kid, I would ride Italian bikes and just kind of wonder what it would be like to be in Italy, actually experiencing some of this stuff firsthand. So I would love to do more international episodes. I think this is a show about all of us. It's about connection with items and places and people. And so I'm so glad that we're speaking today. I'm so glad we're speaking today.
You know that our dream come true will be that you actually shoot a couple of episodes or even a season in Latin America. So we're going to talk about that in a couple of minutes.
Okay.
But before that, you mentioned a very key word for you, motorcycles. How many motorcycles you actually do? And if it's true, because rumor has it that you're going to be able to, for the very first time, put on sale some of those collectible items.
Yes, I have. Well, I had about 140 motorcycles. I just recently sold 67 of them at an auction in Las Vegas with Mecum Auctions. So we have quite a few bikes left. I think I've got to the point in my life where I'm like most of the people that we buy things from. You just start to realize, what's important to you, what's not. And a lot of the motorcycles that I have now are pre 1920 American. I do have a tremendous amount of Vespas. I love Vespas. I love Lambrettas. I've always been a scooter guy. And so my collection is becoming more refined. I know I talk to a lot of people that really enjoy us talking about motorcycles and finding motorcycles on the show. And obviously in Europe, South America, everywhere around the world, motorcycles play more of a role in the daily life of people. So I'm excited to share my passion with the world.
Talking about passion, the passion that America has for history and the passion that we do have to get to know about more about history through every finding of the treasure or the trash that you find along the way is unique and amazing. It's never enough. But have you ever dreamed of having more than 20 seasons and more than 325 episodes of this series?
Never in my life I could ever imagine anything like that. We're in our 14th year now filming. We started filming in 2009, and the show being such a huge success all over the world is a really testament to how much we all love hands-on history and how much we all love story. At the end of the day, the places that we meet, the places that we go, and the people that we meet, they're the real treasure. The stories that we uncover as we're telling someone's story through these items that we're finding. It's an emotional journey. And a lot of the things that we find, are not being made anymore, or the style obviously is different. The purpose is different. But at the end of the day, it's like, so much of it is just driven by emotion, not just my emotion and passion, but the people that are actually selling the things to us as well. It's an emotional day on people's properties when we film. We're on someone's property for about 9 hours.
And also, when we were discussing the other day, we happened to agree that this is all about emotional connection. And that's what history is all about. How can we emotionally connect with other civilizations, with objects that tell stories, but tell stories about human beings, and how's the human connection. And it's amazing how can we connect different cultures, different years, different ages, different decades, but also how can we find people who have so much in common without knowing that they're fans of history. So, talking about history, you also were part of one episode of NCIS as Mike Wolfe. How was that?
That was pretty incredible. I mean, the fact that those guys were big fans. I mean, that's one of the biggest shows in America, maybe the world. I mean, they've got a very long run. Mark Harmon was very generous with his time, and they wrote us into the show as ourselves. He talked about Danielle on the show. Obviously, he talked about my business and such. And so we had found a murder weapon. They were watching the show at the beginning of their show, and they saw me buy this item, and they're like, that has to be what we've been looking for. We don't have scripted lines on my show, so I wasn't really versed in learning lines. And so there were a couple times when I was in the van that there were Post-it notes put on the side of the van of there was like a town or a church or name I couldn't remember. And so Mark Harmon wrote it on a Post-it note and he stuck it next to my face on the van so I could see it, because after about 10 takes, I just couldn't get it. But it was a great experience. And I've stayed in touch with him. And he's a big collector within himself. That's one thing, living in the Nashville area where there's so many, I guess, quote unquote celebrities, mostly obviously musicians, they're all collectors. And I think a lot of people that are very creative or passionate in some way have learned to collect to escape into different time periods with the items that they find.
And I'm going to tell you a word of it for it, because what we're going to do one of these days with History Channel, Latin America and Brazil, is we are going to do a contest that we are going to take 2 winners from Latin America to go and be part of one of your episodes and meet and greet with you and Danielle. So people can be, for the first time, be able to be participate in real life, in real time, in one of your episodes, if you're okay with that. So I want to take your work right now from it.
Absolutely. I would absolutely love that. After doing this for as long as we have, the more that we can share this journey with others that's the best feeling of all.
And we know that you want to go now that you have a little more time left and available to go to Latin America. And we also want to take your word from it, because we want to take you to Mexico, we want to take you to Brazil, and we want to do more things with you. So now I'm going to, if you're okay with it, I'm going to open for the questions and questions from our media outlets in Latin America and Brazil. We have more than 150 people with us, and they're dying to talk to you. So we are going to the first question. And the first question will be from Pablo Esteban del Diario Vanguardia, Colombia. Are we ready, Colombia?
Aló, hola, ¿cómo están?
Te escuchamos bajo,
Hola.
te escuchamos.
Hello.
Gracias, muchas gracias por atendernos, por escucharnos. Pues bueno, la primera pregunta que quiero hacer, o la pregunta que quiero hacer es, después de tantas temporadas y después como de encontrar tantísimos tesoros, justamente, ¿qué esperas que te sorprenda en esta nueva temporada, en esta nueva casa? ¿Qué podría sorprenderte en nuestra nueva casa de tesoros?
After all your findings and so many episodes and seasons, she's wondering what can surprise you in this new season of American Pickers.
We're always finding things that we've never seen before. I mean, obviously, doing this for as long as I have, a lot of people would say, well, you've probably seen everything, you've probably bought everything. But we're constantly being challenged, not so much in just finding things, but we're being challenged in a way that we're educating ourselves constantly. I think, us as a cast, and for the viewer, the discovery and learning is a big part of the show. It's not unusual every week when we're out filming that I'm learning something. We can only specialize in so many different things. So there's a lot of challenges physically this season. A lot of the places that we go into have animals, and they have just difficulty getting into structures, climbing through stuff. I mean, when I feel most alive is when I'm digging through things and I'm uncovering. It's all to me about the journey and the discovery.
Thank you. Paola, what's your next question from Colombia? Paola, te escuchamos.
Dale,
Paola.
la segunda pregunta que tengo es, digamos, ¿qué podría ser como los retos más grandes que a lo largo de todo el show, con tantísimos episodios, has tenido, y cuáles han sido como las mayores satisfacciones?
Which one have been your most difficult challenges along the way, and which one have been your most satisfactory find in these episodes?
I think that one of the most difficult picks we did was the pick that we did that was underground. There was a guy that we called Mole Man that lived underground. Unfortunately, he's recently just passed away, but he was about 20 to 25 feet underground, and he had built a house, and a lot of the paths to get to the house were very difficult. That was very challenging. As far as rewarding, that's kind of a double-edged question, because when I think about something being rewarding, it's not so much the monetary value of it, it's the emotional part of it as well. So I think you guys have already seen the show where we did we fixed an Auburn car, and we were able to drive it back to the previous owner and give her a ride in that. That was that was a really emotional journey, driving back to where she was from in that car, and then to see how she was connected to it. A lot of these inanimate objects that we all live with every day, you know, after someone passes, or we understand their connection to it, it becomes more powerful. And so that was a very rewarding experience for me.
Well, now, thank you, Colombia. Now we're going with Brazil, with Jose Vieira from Noticias da TV UOL. Bem-vindo. Jose?
Hi, I'm here. Nice to meet you guys. Mike, which part of searching do you like the most? Are the connections you make, the objective found, the stories you get to know?
What kept me what kept me driven for 5 years pitching the show was the connections that I was making. What you see me do on television is something that I've done for the last 35 to 40 years of my life professionally. Um, you know, the reason I pitched the show is because I wanted to show people that these places exist. I wanted to show people that these people matter. You know, we've said it on the show a number of times. There is no such thing as a nobody. You know, it's amazing to me that I've been given the gift of 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 passion. Just this morning, I was praying to God, thanking Him for the passion that He has given me, because most of the things that I've done in my life have been driven by my heart and my passion. So the people that we all get to meet, not just me, but all of you, are significant in the smallest way and in the biggest way. So I'm glad that you guys find it so connecting and so rewarding to watch, because that is my dream.
Now is the turn of Federico from Página 12, Argentina. Página 12. Hello, Argentina.
Argentina.
We are waiting for you. Now we have a question from Chile. Pulvimetro Chile is asking, which one is the object that have make you laugh the most?
Wow, I've never been asked that question. That's really interesting. That's a great question. Um, the object that's made me laugh the most. I think it's probably old circus stuff, you know. I mean, the way we were all entertained in the 30s and 40s. Some of it we find that's very morbid now, obviously, with sideshow acts, things like that. I've always enjoyed finding that stuff, whether it's a sideshow banner or an old ventriloquist doll or a game that somebody would have played back in the day, or even a carnival ride. That stuff brings me a lot of joy, and it's something that I collect myself.
Did you regret any buy in your life?
I think when you do this as much as we do, I think you do regret some stuff. I mean, there's a couple different ways to look at that. Obviously, there's the financial aspect of regretting something maybe you paid too much. And then there's the, you know, the disconnection from it. You know, I really have always enjoyed uh, finding things that I could make a little bit of money on, but you know, really, if I'm actually buying something, if I'm taking the time to do it, if I'm whether I'm researching it in my mind or whatever, I feel like there's always you could always see the sunny side of anything, I guess.
Do you ever say no for a purchase and then you come back and get it anyway?
Yes, we actually did that with a motorcycle on the show. It was a bike called the Royal Pioneer. We weren't educated enough to pull the trigger on the bike. The guy was asking $55,000, which was a tremendous amount of money. And I knew what I was looking at as far as the historical aspect of it, but the value, it scared me. We made a phone call to a gentleman by the name of Jersey John that you might all know. And he was like, "Are you kidding? Get back over there. You need to buy that. You got to go back right now." So again, it's an educational journey for us just as well as it is for the viewer.
And that's one of your most precious objects of your collection right now, the Royal Pioneer that you always talk about. Now we close the circle. Now we're going to Federico, página 12, Argentina. Federico, ¿estás ahí? Ok, vamos con Sujay Baños de Universal México. México. Hello. ¿Me ayudan, por favor, México o Argentina? Bueno.
Gabriel Fresta,
perdón.
Gabriel Fresta, por favor.
Ah, bueno, perfecto. Gabriel Fresta de Argentina, de Radio Rivadavia. Mike, dos preguntas. Una, que tiene algo que siempre me llamó la atención, con respecto a el regateo. De pronto hay un valor y de pronto están por $5 o $2, están diciendo sí, no, es para el show, es una cuestión de vencer. Y la otra pregunta, estamos en una época, por un lado, de acumulación y por otro lado, de soltar. Escuché que vendiste muchas motocicletas. ¿Estás en una etapa de soltar y no de acumular más?
The questions from Argentina are the following ones. The first one of the best parts of the show is to see you negotiate back and forth, yes and no. But sometimes I wonder, sometimes the difference is very small. It's $2, $3, or even $5. Well, it shouldn't make too much of a difference. Is that because you are like that and $2 are very important for you, or is because it's part of the show?
No, basically, I mean, I learned as a young picker that the negotiation process is part of the respect process. So, and it's the sometimes the best part of the deal. I mean, obviously, if there's something that's $10, $20, $15, whatever it is, you know, the negotiation is the enjoyment for both parties, because obviously no deal should be made unless both people feel good about it. But when I was in Italy picking, the negotiation process was something pretty incredible. We would sit down, and this is at a flea market. They would pour wine. We would have cheese. They wanted to talk about it. It was a very lengthy process, where in the United States it's very quick, it's very fast, you know. And but that's how we get to know each other. You get to know the other person through the negotiation process, not just the purchases.
Now, the second part of the question was from Argentina as well, was like, after the pandemic, most of us want to let go of things. Is that the reason? Do you want to start selling your motorcycles?
Yeah, I think we've all had a while to self-reflect after the pandemic. And to me, I'm 58 years old now. So I think to myself, okay, in 2 years, I'll be 60. And what do I want the next 20 years of my life to be? When you're a collector, you have those moments. I mean, those are the people that I've been buying things from my whole life. I learned at a very young age, as a young man, I was always dealing with people that they were either at the end of their life or there were major changes being made in their life. And it was all about reflection. And I think what we hear on the show and what you hear too over time is that it is time. Why are you selling? Why do you want to sell? It's just time. I think that we covet these things and we bring so many into our lives, so many pieces, and at the end of the day, they're just ours for a short time. And so to be able to recognize that while you're still collecting and still alive is a very beautiful thing. It's part of the process of collecting.
Fluir para no sufrir. Now, the question from Página 12, the guy who was trying to ask you and couldn't get connected with audio, is the following. It is possible to know what object from the present will be suitable and attractive in American Pickers season 42?
Season 42, wow. Well, you know what? I mean, to me, I've been asked that question a couple different times in different ways, and I'm looking at things from a perspective of like how many were made, how it was made, artisans, pieces that stand the test of time. Obviously we all live in a throwaway society. I'm not talking about plastic bottles. I'm talking about the furniture that we sit on, the cars that we drive, the clothes that we wear. So when you find pieces that are distinct in quality and unique, I think that's the stuff that's going to be collectible in the future. And I love looking for that. I guess what we call contemporary items, they would be called that now, but in the future they would be collectibles.
So we are surrounded by vintage products and we don't know it yet. Now we're going with Sujay Baños from Universal Mexico. Universal? Meanwhile,
Buenos días.
we're going with the question.
Buenos días.
Vamos.
Hola.
Hola, mi pregunta es la siguiente. ¿Qué pasará con todos los objetos que hasta el momento ha logrado coleccionar? ¿Qué pasará en un futuro con ellos cuando a lo mejor decida ya no seguir?
Her question is very simple and direct, very straightforward. What will happen with all the objects that you have collected around all this time, the day that you decide, I don't want to do this anymore?
I will be a collector until the day I die. A lot of the stuff that I have, hopefully my daughter would be interested in it, just like, everyone that's on this call. We all have family, whether it's kids or brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, cousins, that we would hope that would appreciate our life's work in regards to the treasure hunting that we do. My brother has 5 kids and only one of his children collect. So I feel like one of them have been very blessed. Not that all of them don't have passion for soccer or college or, their relationship with their spouse, whatever it is, but we've got one guy that understands it and he understands us. So as far as I'm concerned, he won the lottery. His name is Risa. And that's my middle name, Risa, R-H-E-S-A. That was my grandfather's name. Yeah, to answer your question, I think that as a collector, we all kind of wonder that, but it doesn't stop us from dreaming of finding things. If we were to think about constantly what will happen with the things that I find, that might be discouraging. But to someone that truly loves to collect, that's never a question. It's always about the journey.
That's right. It's always about the journey. Now, a question from one of the fans that are watching right now our press conference. The question is from Brazil, from Bro Bass, and his question is very simple. Have you have any Brazilian item in your collection right here, right now?
Well, I might and not know it. I do have some advertising that I bought overseas, but that's a really great question. I really love that question. No one's ever asked me that before. I would love to, if I didn't have anything in my collection, I would love to have the opportunity to come to Brazil. I've never been, and to experience Brazil through other collectors. A collector, I think, sees the landscape in a different way, and they see the society that they live in a different way. They honor it, I think, more than most. So to be able to come to Brazil and be able to buy something that was significant to me for one reason or another would be a dream of mine.
Another question from another fan of Brazil. His name is Andre Rexigel. And his question is like, are you looking for something that you were not able to find yet, but you already know what is it in your head?
Well, yes, and it's motorcycles. There were over 500 different manufacturers of motorcycles in America at one time, and obviously a lot of them were smaller, and they either got bought up or their patents and their designs were, contributed to what we all ride today. So there's a motorcycle called a Black Hawk that was made in the area that we're from in Rock Island, Illinois. No one has ever found that motorcycle. There had 2 engines that have been found. There's another motorcycle called a Torpedo that was made by a company called Hornecker Manufacturing in Geneseo, Illinois. There has only been one of those bikes found. I actually own a few motorcycles that nobody knows what they are, and we're hoping to find a piece of literature, something that will tell us what it is, like an old ad they would have ran in a magazine, or maybe a brochure that they made to sell it. I think all of these things are pieces that I romanticize about someday finding.
The good thing is that now you have thousands of people in Latin America looking for it as we speak. So we go to the next question. You're not alone anymore. And the next question is from Ederly Criticos, Brazil.
Hi, Mike. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
My question is, if after so many years, so many seasons, it's more difficult to negotiate. The people is more educated by the program. So when you arrive there, they say, no, that's not so cheap anymore. Now I want more money. Have you felt like that?
Absolutely. Well, obviously, we all hope as collectors that, the things that we find and buy will increase in value. And things have increased in value a tremendous amount over the last 14 years. But at the end of the day, if something's worth $500, that's what it's worth. And so, we would negotiate a number a little bit, below that, enough to make it some money. But I guess to answer your question, we all of us want our items to increase in value. I look at shows that I did 14 years ago, and like I'm buying an old sign or something, and it's like $300. Well, that same sign now is like $3,000. A lot of people say that we've been instrumental in kind of driving up the prices of a lot of things. I don't think we've been. I think if you look at it from that standpoint, I think it's more we've been instrumental in educating people more about the value of some of the things they find. There's been a number of shows where you see me dig something out of the dirt, and I offer a lot of money for it. So I think that that kind of entices all of us to want to treasure hunters.
Thank you. Now we're going with Julio César Orozco de Telecafé, Colombia.
Hola, buen día, un cordial saludo para todos. Quería saber si encontró algo que su dueño no quisiera vender a ningún precio o si piensa que todo está en venta. Y la otra pregunta es, ¿cuál ha sido el objeto más sorprendente y el más antiguo que ha encontrado? Gracias.
The first question is like, have you ever found something that you want so badly, but you found that the owner doesn't want to sell it?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, a lot of people love that part of the show. I've had people come up to me and they're like, I just love it when they won't sell it to you. And what they mean by that is it's showcasing their passion for it. It's showcasing their connection. And that's what the show is about. The show isn't really about just buying things and selling them for more money. The show is very story driven. So the fact that, say, they won't sell me an old toy that they have, we're still learning about the toy. We still found the toy, and we still are excited about the toy. And so we've done our job. We've shown this toy to the world, and now the fact that they don't want to sell it shows how much something just so small and insignificant to most could be so important to somebody.
And his follow-up question was, which one was the most antique and surprising object that you have ever found?
Surprising object. Well, we did a show one time. Again, we're talking about story, not value. We bought a piece from a gentleman that lived in a bus, and he didn't have a lot of money, but he had a lot of things that he accumulated over his life. And we bought this piece for $150. And he said it was a burglar alarm. It was something that you put on your window, and when you open the window, it would have shot somebody with a .22 rifle cartridge.
Oh, God.
So we were fascinated. We were fascinated by that. So, but when we actually took it to get it appraised, it was a tool that was designed to check the brakes on a car. So we were all educated about it, and I was fascinated by it because it was so mechanical, and I was fascinated by him and his journey through these things. If you notice, it's not just the American dream to find things and collect them and to covet them and surround yourself with. This is a worldwide dream. The fact that, a lot of people would look at him like he didn't have a lot of money. To him, his life wasn't about money. It was about history and surrounding himself with things that he was passionate about. I think that's one of the reasons the show does well, is because that's what we all feel around the world.
Thank you. Another question from Colombia comes from a fan of American Pickers. His name is Eric Villamizar, and his question is like, which article would you buy when you come to Colombia?
I mean, I would be interested to see what kind of bicycles were ridden around during the early 1900s over there. I love vintage clothing. I think it would be interesting to find what we call workwear in America, what that was like there, the different types of denim that would be worn. And I think also advertising would be interesting to me. And then maybe pottery, things of that nature. And then I do buy and love furniture, what we call mid-century modern. A lot of that stuff was designed by a lot of different influences from around the world. I think that would be fun to look for some of that as well.
Excellent. Now we're going to the next question, and it's from Belén del Sol, México.
Thank you. Hello, Mike. It's nice to meet you. Thank you very much for your time. Mike, I would like to ask you because you earlier you mentioned that well your kid is probably gonna inherit your collection. So how do you share this passion with your family? Perhaps you have taught your kid how to buy articles. And another question is if you would be willing to open a museum with the collection that you currently have.
Well, it's funny. We're actually in a building right now that's 1947. It's an old Chevrolet dealership, and a lot of people come in here and think that it looks like a museum already. I haven't thought about opening a museum because when you open a museum, you have to look at it from a standpoint that it's a business. And you have to attract people. It's about marketing, obviously, having safe pathways through things. And then also too, when someone's looking at something, being able to have an interactive way for them to educate themselves with it on their own with the item. My daughter and I, she's 11 now, and she's starting to go to, she wants to go to thrift stores. Her and her friends are interested in finding old t-shirts and old sweatshirts, stuff from the 80s. And I think that that's kind of the beginning. That's the beginning of her journey. I can remember the first time we drove by an antique shop and she said, "Daddy, we just drove by a place. Do you want to stop and look?" And I said, "Do you want to stop and look?" And she said, "Yes, I do." And so that was pretty incredible to me. She does like a lot of things. She likes to find them, and she's buying like little China dolls and things sometimes. But to her, it's she lets them go right away. Like when she will give them away, she'll find them and then she'll have them for a short time, and then if someone says, "Oh, I like that," and then she says, "Well, then you need to have this." So I think that she's got a good heart, and hopefully I can teach her a few things along the way when it comes to collecting.
El espectador Colombia has a question. Thank you, Belen. El espectador Colombia has a question. Mike, without a doubt, you are a true fan of motorcycles, and we can see it right here, right now. Our question is very simple. How many motorcycles do you have in your collection right now? How many you used to have? And where do you storage them? And if you can share one story that will make your fans go, wow.
I've got about 65 motorcycles in my collection. I've had close to 200, I think, at one time. To me, finding these bikes, especially the early ones, they play such a large role in our lives. So, when people were riding horse, and then all of a sudden they were riding a bicycle, and then someone put a motorcycle engine, put an engine on a bicycle, and it became a motorcycle. And then they put four wheels on it and it became a car. If you look at the Wright brothers and their contribution to aviation, if you look at Arnold Schwinn and that company and their contribution to the bicycle world, anything from trains to airplanes to automotive, all of these things were connected to in some way, from patents from bicycles to motorcycles. I've got motorcycles. I'm looking at one right now. It's 1914. It's a Harley. The bike's original paint. It has the original tires on it. And it was from a family in Minnesota that had it since it was new. And they told me stories of their grandfather was into livestock. And that's how he made a living. He was a ranchman, and he would go out on the motorcycle and ride it through the pastures and herd the cattle with this motorcycle. I think of that story all the time when I look at that bike. It's the first thing that I think of when I see it. There's another bike that I'm looking at called a Marvel that was made in Hammondsport, New York, and it was made by a gentleman by the name of Glenn Curtis. Glenn Curtis was also a father of aviation as well. So I think that bicycles and motorcycles, you know, obviously we use them for transportation, but when you think of the root of the history of them, you start to realize how all of those roots connect all of us in some way to what we're using right now.
Excellent. Now we're going with Daniel Amorim from Coluna do Brasil, Instagram, Brazil. Daniel,
Hello,
¿está
everybody.
ahí?
Thank you very much for the invitation. Mike, first of all, can you measure how many items do you have in your collection?
I mean, I don't know, Dave, what do you think?
I don't have enough fingers.
It's thousands of items. You know, it could be something as small as this spark plug. I like to collect old spark plugs, and then I like to collect old toys. I like to collect hood ornaments. I like to collect old clothing. I like to collect store displays. I like to collect photography. I like to collect some taxidermy. So the list goes on and on. I'm kind of been blessed in a lot of different ways.
Okay. And another question is, you already said that you really want to go to Brazil, but there's a specific region that you want to visit or actually buy something from there? Do you have a specific something in your mind?
I've never been to South America. I've never been, and I've always wanted to travel there. I'm fascinated with the culture in a lot of different ways, and you know, for me, if I came when I come to an area that I've never been to before, I find myself like a sponge, like most people that travel, where they're looking for a unique experience that's kind of off the beaten path. I can't even imagine going through a barn or an old building or being shown beautiful items from another collector that's there. You know, I to me it's about just sharing passion, you know, and story, and I would jump at the chance to come.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank
We
you.
are recording you, and we're going to make sure that you do it. So now it's
Okay.
coming Alan Hernandez from El Diario 24 Horas, Mexico.
Hi, Mike.
Hello.
Hi. Well, I clearly remember the Italian experience, and it helped me to realize that the passion for collecting stuff is kind of worldwide, but at the same time, it showed, it showed that the stuff you can get from the different places is not the same. You know, it's like the people from the USA is not the same on the stuff they collect from like the Italians. And in that way, you ever minded in collecting in Mexico or Latin America? And if so, what do you think you can get from there?
Well, I know one time I was contacted a few years ago by a picker in Mexico City, and he was finding a lot of American automobiles. But one thing that he found that I thought I was fascinated with was an early Airstream trailer, like something from the late 30s. A tree had fallen on it, and the top of it was smashed, but it was still had a tremendous amount of value. And I thought to here's the deal. It's like, when I used to sell motorcycles or things that would go overseas, we used to say they would disappear forever. You would never see those items again. But now it's a worldwide market with the internet, and so things that were sold in different parts of the world are actually back now or another. So I guess the point I'm trying to make, yes, there's different temper in regards to and ideologies in regards to what people collect in different parts of the world, but I think that the common thread is the same, and that is their love for these pieces of history. So I think there's different parts of the world where there's a lot of things that are U.S. Mexico City is one. Australia is huge with a lot of things from America. But again, when I went to Italy, I wasn't looking at the American motorcycles over there. I was looking at all the brands and things that I'd never seen and never heard of before. You know, there were so many motorcycles when I was in Italy that I'd never seen before, and that was fascinating to me. And I would love to see what South America holds.
You will see very soon. Now,
Thanks.
Agencia CEO Noticias México have the following question. How much of a good business is this business?
I think this business is a
Mike,
little
I
bit
cannot
more
hear you.
difficult, obviously, than most
Now.
businesses. If say you, can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes. Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. The antique.
Yes.
Okay. The antique business. Okay. The antique business is different than any other type of business because you have to go out and you have to find the pieces. It's not like you can order them from a catalog. You know, if you're in the shoe business or if you're in the construction business, you buy your supplies, you buy the things that I guess the tools of your trade to sell. In the antique world, you have to discover things, you have to find them. It takes a lot of time, and then most of the time when you find them, they're not for sale. So it is a difficult business, but I think it's probably one of the most rewarding because with that difficult journey, the things that the doors that are open, you seem to be excited about more. You know, you seem to be more energetic about things. There you go. Can you see me?
Yes, perfect. And the last question will be, what sorting criteria do you use on your collection? That question is from Franz de Castro, another fan from the show.
Okay.
Do you have a
I'm sorry,
criteria for acquisition? Do you have a criteria for acquisition and criteria for storage?
So I think the question is the criteria for acquisition. Obviously, seeing that happen in real time on the show. As far as like storage, that's one of the biggest problems that we have. Sometimes we feel like we're in the storage business. Right now we're in a building that's 14,000 square feet, and we're constantly looking for ways to store more things in it. As far as the acquisitions goes, you know, I think I don't know if the question is like, how are we choosing what we're buying? You know, if that's the case, I think that is dependent upon your personal taste and what you find beautiful, what you find fascinating.
Well, Frank is not here, but Mike, I want to thank you for all your participation, all your collaboration, but especially for all your passion, everything that you put in every single show. I think that we are learning through you how much every single object can mean not only to a family, not only to a person, but also to every civilization. How can it connect human beings and how this can awaken different emotions and feelings. And that's the beauty of it. We love what you do every single episode, and we are looking forward not only to have more episodes of American Pickers, but to bring you to Latin America and have more memories with you. So, which one are your final words?
Thank you for the opportunity. I'm always amazed by the amount of people that watch the show. When we make the show, we're in a very small area. Sometimes we're not even in a town, we're in a very rural area. And so the fact that it's been so relevant to so many different countries all over the world has been more than a dream of mine. It's something that's a responsibility that we do not take lightly. You mentioned Frank's name. Frank is very special to all of us. He's very special to me. And I pray for Frank, and I hope that everyone else will. We love him very much. And the path that he has chosen, the journey, is his own. And we respect that. So I just want to say thank you for the opportunity for this interview today.
Thank you, and we are looking forward to welcome you in Mexico, Brazil, Colombia, or any country that we can coordinate will be your next stop. Just to make sure that you get to know and fall in love with Latin America all over again. So thank you so much, Mike. And now we are going to invite everybody that on Friday, we're going to be also with two friends of ours. We're going to be Rick and Corey. Rick y Corey se van a unir a nosotros para contarnos cómo es el precio de la historia en la carretera, la nueva y fascinante serie de History que se estrena muy pronto, el 17 de marzo, en toda América Latina y Brasil. Así que no se pierdan esta increíble entrevista con Rick y con Corey. Thank you so much, Mike. We love you, man. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
En el 2010 nació un show que trataba de dos amigos recorriendo la ruta en busca de antigüedades. En cada lugar al que llegaban, descubrían diferentes personajes, hurgaban dentro de galpones, sótanos, áticos y despensas, hasta que encontraban algún tesoro para coleccionar, restaurar o revender, y así una y otra vez. Pero, ¿cómo este programa llegó a convertirse no solo en un éxito, sino en un clásico de History? Echemos una mirada al pasado para descubrirlo.
Aquí estamos, Frank y yo condujimos toda la noche por carreteras rurales. Cuando íbamos en la carretera, yo grababa a Frank y él a mí. Cuando aparecíamos los dos, es porque le pedíamos a quien le estábamos comprando que nos grabara. Y fue en ese momento que surgió la idea de un programa de televisión. Estuvimos 5 años intentando venderle el programa a History y cuando finalmente lo logramos les pregunté si lo llamarían Cazadores de Tesoros y me dijeron que no porque nadie sabía lo que eso significaba y yo les dije, expliquémoslo.
Los directivos de History aceptaron la propuesta de Mike, sugiriendo que el mejor lugar para esa explicación era la apertura del show.
Viajamos por las carreteras buscando...
oro oxidado.
No recuerdo ahora.
La apertura surgió de forma natural.
Viajamos por las carreteras buscando reliquias oxidadas escondidas en graneros y garajes.
Perfecto.
Con la apertura terminada, llegaba la hora de salir a la ruta a grabar el show. Pero una cosa era grabarse a ellos mismos y otra muy diferente era protagonizar un verdadero programa de televisión.
Pasamos de grabarnos a nosotros mismos a tener un equipo de 14 personas. Nadie nos abría la puerta y cuando lo hacían, pensaban que habían ganado alguna especie de concurso por todas las personas que estaban con nosotros. Tengo todas estas notas de las personas y... de hecho, tengo bastantes aquí. Solía hacer todas las investigaciones, pero cuando el programa se vendió a History, me preocupó cómo iba a continuar haciéndolas si voy a estar frente a la cámara. Así que busqué a Daniel y le dije, quiero que trabajes con nosotros. Y ella respondió, por supuesto.
Hola, Brian. Sí, es Daniel de Antique Archaeology.
Cuando vino a grabar el primer día, recuerdo que había muchas personas.
Solo hazlo como lo harías naturalmente.
Bien. No sé.
Vamos a arreglar esto para que se te vea mejor la cara.
Y evolucionó muy bien frente a las cámaras porque tiene una personalidad increíble. Es muy dulce y es una persona que tenemos que grabar.
Sea una lámpara antigua, un muñeco gigante de publicidad o alguna colorida lata vieja, todos los objetos a los que estos cazadores echan el ojo esconden la historia de una época que revive en cada cacería.
Comisionado Gordon, aquí Frank Fritz. El único motivo por el que el programa se ha mantenido tanto tiempo es porque se trata de todos nosotros. Si fuese solo para coleccionistas, no hubiese durado tanto.